On the night of December 31st to January 1st, 2023, a missile attack was launched on the building of a vocational school in Makiyivka in the Donetsk region. There were mobilized soldiers of the Russian Federation, most of them were residents of the Samara region. Officially, the command of the armed forces of the Russian Federation recognized the deaths of first 63 and then 89 people. It was January 4th, 2023. Since then, the number has not changed. At the same time, journalists from the Ideal Realities publication managed to establish the names of 125 dead by the end of January. 3 months after the strike, data appeared on 139 dead in Makiyivka.
Our list includes only those whose death was acknowledged in one way or another by the Russian side, relatives of the victims, educational institutions where they studied, or public organizations. Officially, Russia has not named the number of military dead for a long time. The last figure was announced on September 21, 2022, 5,937 people. At the time of publication of this material, 4,125 dead from the republics and regions of the Volga Federal District are reliably known. 401 of them are from the Samara region. At the same time, 139 people died in Makiyivka, from an article of Ideal Realities publication.
Despite the fact that many Samara residents were killed as a result of the strike on Makiyivka, no mourning was declared in the region. Now, in the news of the Russian Federation, there is practically no information about the events in Makiyivka. Meanwhile, the relatives of the victims are still looking for their loved ones. They write in social networks that they were all in Makiyivka on January 1st, in the vocational school building. However, there is no information about their deaths or hospitalization, investigative journalists report. Many relatives do not believe in the version that the military became a target because of the switched-on mobile phones.
What happened? A normal commander wouldn't have allowed so many people in one place. Definitely not about mobile phones. I believe there are traitors. As if on purpose so many people settled in one place and hid them. Now my brother in another regiment is on the front line. There are also Samara residents. Nothing was put on military tickets. They are listed in completely different place where it is calm. They were told to forget about the holidays. The commander tells them in the face that we don't care about you, you are cannon fodder. Interlocutor of Ideal Realities publication on the rights of anonymity.
Officials in the United States and other Western countries believe that the number of Russian troops killed and wounded in Ukraine a year after the start of invasion is approaching 200,000 people, according to the New York Times. Due to the war, the death rate of young people aged 18 to 35 in Russia has increased by 23%, and in regions where the highest death toll is recorded, such as North Ossetia and Dagestan, it has almost doubled. Ossetian David Beriev stands next to the grave of his son. The man admits that he comes here almost daily. His son was 20 years old at the time of the summons.
At the moment, I think that such victims were needed. If it weren't for now, there would have been more victims, it seems to me.
According to various estimates, in 2022 Russia could spend about a quarter of its annual budget on the war, more than $82 billion, write important stories. Although since November 2022 the Ministry of Finance of the Russian Federation has ceased to publish data on military spending, and these figures are very arbitrary. The impact of Western sanctions did not bring down the Russian economy, but significantly affected it. The Kremlin still has enough money for military operations. In other sectors of the economy, negative consequences are already being felt, which even Putin admits. During the year of the war, 20,000 Russians were detained for their anti-war position. More than 5,500 people received fines for the so-called discrediting of the Russian army, and 442 people became defendants in criminal cases, the human rights organization OVD Info reports. One of the latest examples in the story of of the Moskalyov family. 12-year-old Masha Moskalyova painted a picture of Russian missiles raining down on Ukrainians, mother and child. Police began checking on the girl's father's social media activity, and he was initially fined 35,000 rubles for comments critical for the Russian army. Investigators later opened another case against him on suspicion of discrediting the armed forces, this time based on a social media post. The father was sentenced to prison and the daughter was placed in an orphanage.
Это чудовищно.
This is monstrous. This is unacceptable. Those people who are watching this now and do not understand lying on the couch and watching some kinds of series, then you know that this may soon happen to you, to your children. Perhaps your children will express their opinion somewhere. Perhaps your children will laugh at something somewhere, and they will be in the same situation in which this family is now. Perhaps you like something somewhere. Perhaps a neighbor will report on you to whom something will seem.
The Russian authorities are trying to fight not only with the freedom of opinion of Russians, but also with sources of information independent of the Kremlin. According to important stories from February 24th to November 11th, 2022, Roskomnadzor removed and blocked 30,000 materials with calls for rallies, 120,000 materials with so-called fakes about the war. 12,000 publications were removed from Yandex and Mail.ru search engines. Also, more than 600 Ukrainian sites and dozens of foreign media sites have disappeared from the information field of the Russian Federation. Reported by Serhiy Kulyas, Natalia Belokudrya, UATV News.